Today, I'll be performing an excerpt from the first chapter of Anthony Kiedis' autobiography titled Scar Tissue. Kiedis finds himself in a strange part of town, alone, desperately waiting for drugs that may never come. And before long, he won't be alone anymore. But the company that finds him isn't the company that he hoped for. Trust me, you don't want to go in there, Mario told me. Anything can happen inside there and it's not going to be good. So just give me the money and I'll go get the stuff. Part of me was going, Jesus Christ, I don't want to get ripped off right now. He hasn't done it before, but I wouldn't put it past him. But the other larger part of me just wanted that heroin. So I pulled out the last $30 that I had stashed away, and I gave it to him, and he disappeared into the building. I'd been shooting up coke for so many days straight that I was hallucinating in a strange limbo between consciousness and sleep, and all I could think was that I really needed him to come out of that building with my drugs. I took off my prized possession, my vintage leather jacket. Years earlier, Flea and I had spent all our money on these matching leather jackets, and this jacket had become like a house to me. It stored my money, my keys, and in a little nifty secret pocket, my syringes. Now I was so wasted and chilly that I just sat down on the curb and draped my jacket over my chest and my shoulders as if it were a blanket. Come on, Mario. Come on, you gotta come down now, I chanted my mantra. I envisioned him leaving that building with a dramatically different pep in his step, going from the slumping, downtrodden guy to the skipping, whistle while you work, let's go shoot up guy. I just closed my eyes for an instant when I sensed a shadow coming over me. I looked over my shoulder and saw a huge, bulking, big, dirty, crazy-looking Mexican Indian coming at me with a huge, industrial-sized pair of cut-your-head-off giant scissors. He was mid-stab, so I arched my back as forward as I could to get away from his thrust, but suddenly, a skinny little jack-o'-lantern Mexican bastard jumped out in front of me holding a menacing-looking switchblade. I made an instantaneous decision that I wasn't going to take it from the back from the big guy. I'd rather take my chances with the scarecrow killer in front of me. Now, this was all happening so fast, but when you're faced with your own death, you go into that slow motion mode where you get the courtesy of the universe expanding time for you. So I jumped up with my leather jacket in front of me, and I charged the skinny guy. I pushed the leather jacket onto him, smothered his stab, and dropped it and ran out of there like a Roman candle. I ran, and I didn't stop running until I got to where my car was parked. Then I realized I didn't have my keys. I had no keys, no jacket, no money, no syringes, but worst of all, I had no drugs. And Mario wasn't the kind of guy to just come looking for me. So I walked back to his house, but nada. Now the sun had come up and we're supposed to leave in Arizona in an hour. So I went to a payphone, found some change, and called Lindy. Lindy, hey, I'm downtown on 17th and Alvarado, and I haven't been asleep for a while, and my car is here, but I have no keys. Can you pick me up on the way to Arizona? He was used to these Anthony distress calls, so an hour later, there was our blue van pulling up to the corner, packed with our equipment and the other guys, and one deranged, sad, torn up, filthy passenger climbed aboard. I immediately got the cold shoulder from the rest of the band, so I just laid down lengthwise under the bench seats, rested my head in the center column between the two front seats, and passed out. Hours later, I woke up drenched in sweat because I was laying on top of the engine and it was at least 115 degrees out. But I felt great. And Flea and I split a tab of LSD and we rocked that steakhouse. In this performance, I wanted to capture the deranged headspace of a druggie on a bender, suffering from withdrawals and drug-induced insomnia. So I decided to add a quiver and a sense of desperation in my voice when reciting lines from that experience. However, Kiedis is telling the story from a now sober headspace, decades removed from the trauma. So when I'm acting as Kiedis the narrator, I try to add a sense of reflection and distress from recalling such a terrible situation, although one that was much too common for Kiedis back in the day. For that reason, Kiedis as the narrator is a bit difficult to pin down. On one hand, there has to be a sense of reminiscing, but on the other hand, one of sorrow that his life was ever that desperate. During the climax of the scene, when Kiedis gets jumped, I use my body to act out the scene of the stabbing. Performing this piece helps me understand the desperation that comes from not having your needs met, and in that case, the need for drugs. It's hard to relate sometimes to someone who's developed a physical and psychological need for drugs, being that I've never been addicted to drugs myself. But getting into this headspace helped me understand that some people need drugs like normal people need food and water. This is because, according to Peleus, quote, performing others' utterances means letting others live through one's own voice and body.